dog is she?
She's a toy poodle and a real toy.
Oh, how many pounds? 3?
7.
7. Oh.
Okay, we're live on Facebook too, just so everybody knows if you don't want to be on it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 4:01. So I'm really excited that you're all here today. Like I said, if you don't want to be on Facebook, just turn off your camera. I'm gonna, if everyone can stay muted, if you have any questions, put it in the chat room, but we will open up everybody's mics at the end for questions too. So if you could just stay muted. And we're coming to the end, we're coming to our summer schedule. So till like the second week in June, we still have some classes. And we're going to take a break just so everybody knows, but we're always looking for people and new ideas for teaching online. So if you have one or you have something you want to talk about to the congregation, just let me know and we'll schedule it. So I'm going to turn it over to Peter and Arthur. I'm just so happy that you stepped up to do this. We're excited to hear about it. And it's all yours.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Peter and I have been involved with Beth Elders for the last couple of years and working on programming and whatnot. And as some of you may know, we had tried to do something just before the virus started, and with Anthony Tomaselli and the artist. And hopefully he'll be back with us the next time we do it. He owns a couple of restaurants and he's busy with takeout. We came up with this idea because we needed a program, but we've done this before for the Barrington seniors. And this is a little look at San Miguel de Allende, which is where Peter and I are lucky enough to spend part of the winter. And Peter has put it together what we hope will be a really good presentation.
And because we live there, it's not really going to be a tourist view of San Miguel. I mean, we will show some of the tourist sites, but it's really going to be more of a conversation about our life there and some of the things we do, which will include, people we know locally and so forth. Let me just get the PowerPoint up.
You might notice that Peter's been on a very strict diet, and mine is almost the same. We've lost all the body weight, and all that's left of us is basically our heads.
Okay, I just want to be sure that that's up now and people can see it.
Can you hear us and can you see the cathedral? Just wave and we'll know. Oh, good. All right.
Everything's all good.
Oh, great.
Hear you, see you, everything.
Okay. Well, as Arthur mentioned, we spend part of the winter in San Miguel de Allende. We have a home there. And unlike, I had no conception of where this area was or anything about this area before we started going there. It's not a typical tourist resort. People tend to think of Mexico as hot and
Beaches.
Sandy and beachy around the coast. But this is in the colonial highlands, and there are a series of old, beautiful colonial cities there. San Miguel is at about 6,500 feet, so it's pretty high. The air's kind of thin. When you first get there, you feel it because it's a little hard breathing, but you get used to it. And it used to be, it wasn't a silver mining town, but it was very active in the silver mining trade, and that's how it became very wealthy. In the 1800s, it became a very wealthy silver trading city.
When we first heard about it, we had, as Peter said, no idea. And then we heard about it from our next door neighbors in Provincetown, who are artists, and she went there because it was an artist colony. And when we heard that, and when I heard that they had hot springs there instead of the ocean, because whenever I went away in the winter, I used to want to go to the beach, we decided that we would take a chance and see what it was like. This is the main square, which is called the Jardín. And these trees are sheltering the whole area around in the Jardín where people sit in the heat of the day. The main cathedral that you saw in the first picture is going to be to the right. On a normal day, you have tourists. It's a World Heritage City, and because it became a World Heritage City, they've really cleaned it up in most of the downtown area now. There are no power lines. It's very clean. There are no traffic lights. Do we have that picture?
Yeah, we will show a picture how there are no traffic lights. They do make provisions for that when there's the occasional traffic jam outside a church during a wedding. This is what's called the Parroquia, which is the main cathedral on the main square. It actually is a very old cathedral, I think originally from the 13 or 1400s, I believe. But this newer structure you see was built in the 1860s, and it's sort of a whimsical style. And it's become the symbol of San Miguel, and it's used on a lot of the publicity you see from the town. It's a really beautiful building, and beautifully illuminated at night. The picture you see on the right is actually taken from one of our rooftop of one of our favorite restaurants, which has a really nice view of the cathedral. And the Jardín itself is just a pleasant place to hang out. It's where people informally gather. You invariably wind up meeting somebody you know there, and not just tourists. I mean, it is an attraction for tourists, but Mexicans hang out there with their children and gather for family events and celebrations. Musicians very often will sit there and play music and practice. And the woman on the right is selling dried flower wreaths, which women will wear on. Actually, in the background, you can see there's a woman wearing it on her head. And that's very often used, for holidays or festivals and so forth.
And it really amazes us because they sit there in between selling them, and they're actually making these every day from dried flowers. So it's not imported from China or anywhere else.
And I just wanted to mention, the way we broke this talk down is just in some general categories dealing with our life there. So this is actually a picture of where we live from the Rosewood Hotel, the rooftop of the Rosewood Hotel, which is directly across the street. And our house is, I would say, probably just about in the middle of this picture. It's on, you see sort of this road leading back from the main street, and then there are condos on each side of that, and we're on the left-hand side, about 3 buildings in.
And if you look way in the distance, that's the main Parroquia, that's the cathedral, and in the downtown area, it's built like Rhode Island, like Providence actually. There are 6 hills, so we're in the valley, and you don't see all of the construction and the new buildings that are going up on the hills. They've kept the main portion of the city as historic as they can.
Yeah, I think in 2018, no, it's 2008, I think, the whole historic center was declared a UNESCO heritage site. So it's under strict preservation code. In theory, of course, there's political corruption and the rest of it, and money talks. So there have been a few things built that are not to the code that the town sets. But by and large, it's a beautifully preserved historic town. And the whole center part of the town is basically an outdoor museum.
And what you'll notice after we go through this picture, our complex is right across the street there behind the red car. And there are wrought iron gates that we go through to get into the complex. You'll notice on most of the pictures and when we go onto the streets that you walk on the narrow streets, and all you do is you walk by walls, and you cannot believe what's going on behind each of these walls. They could be a 5-acre estate. There could be 12 little cottages put inside. So our place is very unusual, and we have people stopping all day long, every day, taking pictures and asking questions because it's the only place like it in town. We are behind gates. We are a secure community, and we have caretakers and night watchmen, and it's very, very safe.
This is actually our background picture, and this is from the Gardens of the Rosewood, as I said, which is right across the street. So where we live, it's a townhouse, so we actually only have a very small outdoor courtyard area, and then our rooftop gardens, which are very nice, which is where you very often have meals or breakfast or sit out in the sun. But we kind of use this area as our private garden because it's right across the street and it's beautiful to walk around.
It's acres of land, and they just did the most magnificent job landscaping it. We bought before this hotel was there. And knowing all it was this enormous estate. It was lots. And they came in and they landscaped it. It's hills, it's valleys, it's swimming pools. You'll see as we go on. Oh.
And this is our house, which I pointed out in the other picture. It's about 3 stories high, and all the houses attached in that section are pretty much the same. There's some variation. Some are 2 bedrooms, some are 3 bedrooms. And this is the view from the roof, so of our house. So it gives a nice view over the hills, and we also over the years have put all sorts of potted plants up there. So it's a nice place to sit. This was a fun thing that happened one year. There are lots of hummingbirds in this area, and I don't know if you can make it out in this picture too well, but on the right-hand side, sitting on that little nest, is a hummingbird. This happened right outside one of the bedroom windows, and there were 2 pea-sized eggs in there, which hatched, and 2 little birds eventually hatched and grew. And it was sort of funny to watch them, because as they got bigger and bigger, they started oozing out over the edge of the nest, because that nest is really, really tiny. And this is sort of our family group. We own the home with a friend of ours, Richard, and this is our housekeeper, Teresa, or Terry as we call her, in the middle. We're very fortunate. Most of the housekeepers in San Miguel do not speak English, or not very well. She speaks it pretty fluently, so we can communicate with her very well, which is fortunate, because I started taking Spanish classes this past year, but I don't speak it very well, and Arthur doesn't speak it at all.
I speak it less.
Less.
Oh, we're really lucky, as Peter said. Not only does Terry speak English, but she came to us through the woman who manages the property for us when we're not there. And she came and we met her the night before we left. And she had worked for an English couple before that. And we were told that she was a very good cook. Well, not only is she a cook, she's an amazing caterer now. And she has a side business when she's not working for us. And we're very lucky we don't have to cook. We'll say to her, Terry, we'd like to have dinner tonight. And she just whips up this stuff. And if you could actually see what's on the round tray, her little hors d'oeuvres and the stuff, everything with her is presentation, and the food is delicious.
And that's her sister Juanita standing next to her, helped us with this particular meal. But all we said to her is, oh, make something, let's say with chicken or something. And then she comes up with the rest of that. So she's really an excellent cook and very creative.
This was a celebration of her 40th birthday. She's sitting in the stripes in the center there, and very good friends of ours who were also clients of hers decided to throw a birthday party for her. And it's very unusual that the Mexican people really mix with a lot of the gringos, but she has a special relationship with us and with
some of our other friends who are also her clients. And actually, she introduced us to some clients of hers who turned out to be friends of ours. They're originally from the Boston area. She said, "Oh, I think you really like them," and we did. And
the date was at their house, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that's what, in fact, these friends' houses where this particular photo was taken, where the party was. It's a really, really wonderful family. They work together when Terry has catering events. Her family will help cook, set up, serve. Her brother is a wonderful landscape designer. He's done a little bit of work for us, but we don't have that much land, but he's done incredible work. He did all those gardens.
We even have been invited to weddings in the family, and that's the picture on the left. And what's so interesting, this is not the main cathedral, but there were 4 other cathedrals in the town. And what happens? There's a big plaza in front of the church, and they have 4 or 5 weddings a day, and they just line up one after the other. And when one wedding party comes out, then they come out with their flowers, and they take the next wedding, and they carry in their flowers. It's like an actual automated machine. And when I mentioned the town, this picture on our right is Christmas time, and there are no traffic lights in the main town at all. And at Christmas time, the policeman stands on that box. It's an extension cord, and he has like an old lantern, and it has red lights and green lights, and he turns it red and he turns it green, and that's how he controls the traffic.
And after this, actually, I think it was after this wedding. We've been to several events there, weddings and anniversaries. We went out to Terry's family's farm and family complex where they live. It's a fairly extended family, and they live together. And they had set up this large tent with an incredible setup, and they had a huge meal, and of course the requisite mariachi band. And they had tables set up, and this went on all day and long, well into evening, which we'll show in a minute. This horse was kind of funny. I didn't quite get the picture when I wanted to, but he kept poking the guy in the head in front of him, and the guy would give him a piece of food from the table.
This again was the mariachi band in the same affair. We were sitting outside, and as we sat late in the afternoon, they began to erect this tent. We couldn't believe it. You know, my kids are in the concert business, and this is what they do. And here on this farm with this Mexican family, they put up this tent with lights and bands. They went till 3 o'clock in the morning. We went home at 11 at night.
Yeah, we didn't stay to hear the late night band. But this was kind of funny. As we were pulling up earlier in the evening, or this might have been for a different event, we saw this truck pull up with the wedding or anniversary cake on the back of it. And when it first pulled up, the driver was inside, and there was somebody sitting next to him with the cake in the flatbed, and he had his hand sticking out the back, steadying the cake. So it was driving down this, dusty country road on an open flatbed truck with dust flying all over the place, but it still tasted pretty good.
I said, how are we going to eat that with all the dust? But everybody ate it, so we ate it. Unfortunately, we didn't get sick. Oh, this was a night at another party of theirs, and it was in December.
So this will disabuse you, anybody who thinks otherwise, that Mexico is hot all over. In the mountains, it gets very, very cold at night.
And yet in the daytime, I go to yoga in the morning at 9 o'clock, I leave at 8:30, and I walk up to town, and I'm wearing a jacket, not as heavy as that, but you see the kids going to school with mittens and hats. And by the time I come out of yoga at 10:30, the temperature has gone from, let's say, 50 up to 65, 70. So you get warm days 99% of the year with no humidity.
And these are just some pictures of areas around town.
Old pictures.
Well, this is an old picture from an old postcard. I just wanted to show it for contrast. By the late 1800s, early 1900s, San Miguel had become virtually a ghost town. The silver was mined out. It was, and the fortunes of the town declined. And there were very, very few people living there. Much of the town was in ruins. And I don't know exactly when this picture was taken. I would suppose the 40s, 50s, or 60s. But you can see the town looks very derelict. And this is the same view today. This town has been beautifully restored. And you can see it's grown quite a bit. In the picture on the left, it barely goes past the cathedral in the center. And now it expands on to the hillsides all around the town. So it is growing fairly quickly. I think when we first bought there, the statistic I heard, it was there were 140,000 people living in town. And now there are something around 200,000, but most of the people live in the growing suburban areas.
You'll notice this picture. This is one of the most famous streets, and we live just down the street off this main street. And this street leads to the cathedral. And there are pictures, there are hundreds and hundreds of tourists usually taking pictures there every day. The one thing I want to point out, if you look on the left-hand side, you'll notice the double doors, and then there's a dark painted wall. On most of the houses in San Miguel, the lower half of the houses are painted a darker color than the rest of the houses. It's basically two-tone. And I asked one day, why don't they make them all solid? And in the old days, they always painted the dark portions of the buildings the darker colors, because when it was horse and buggy and rain and dirt, all the dirt and everything used to go up onto the buildings, and they felt with the darker colors it didn't show so much.
And this is just one of the surprising things you find in San Miguel. This is one of the things I like about it. We've been going for years and there are always surprises there. There, first of all, are lots of festivals and events going throughout the year. One morning I was walking into town on the street that you see on the left, and there was this huge table set up all the way down the street. And I had no idea what that was about. But I spent a little while in town, and by the time I came back, the picture on the right, you see a woman sitting at the table, and I asked, I'd actually met her earlier. The picture on the left shows her at a concert that we attended. I think we bumped into her into a shop or a hotel, hotel she owns, and she's an artist, a singer. She paints, she cooks. And she invited us to this concert. So she went, and she was actually quite good, sort of Edith Piaf style singing. And we got to know her a little bit. So when she saw me walking down the street, she said, oh, and the picture on the right, she said, oh, the person next to me never showed up. Why don't you sit down and eat? So it turned out, I didn't really know exactly what this was for. And it turned out to be some type of event that honored the people in the town who were instrumental in having it become a World Heritage Site and a cultural center. So the people who owned restaurants and galleries and that sort of thing, and then me. But it was wonderful. They had a wonderful 5-course meal and a wine tasting. So it's just one of these little things that happens. And because it's such a small town, you get to know people in the community fairly easily and quickly. This is one of the main churches in town called Las Moñas, which means the nuns. And it's again, a beautiful colonial building. And this is just a general impression of the town. The colors in town are wonderful. These are just some flowers up against a painted blue wall in a home, and some vines going up the side of a building. We always tell people you have to be really careful when you walk around the town, because the temptation is to look around everywhere. And you have to be careful because it is an old colonial town. There are lots of changes in levels and cobblestones and steps up and down. If you don't watch where you're going, you'll trip. So we always tell people, if you want to look around, stop and then look.
That picture on the right is a vine. We planted that vine on the side of our building. This was not our building the year after we came, and now the entire building is all the green vines with little flowers. Oh, this is on one of the main streets, is a bull ring, and they have bullfights 2 or 3 times a year. We've never intended, because we didn't want to watch, we didn't want to see the bulls slaughtered, but there's another picture we have, and they have, this is like a 2-wheel bike, but it's got bull horns on the front, and we got in there, so of course I had to play around and become a matador. And this is how they train when there's nobody there. Somebody plays the bull, and the matador actually works on his moves and his dance steps and what have you.
And this is an interesting building. I didn't really think of it, although I guess it's obvious. There's actually a large old Jewish population in Mexico, particularly in Mexico City, but also in San Miguel. And this is a building known locally as Casa Cohen. It was built by the Cohen family, a Jewish family from Mexico City. And these days it's been turned into a boutique hotel, and then there's a little mall plaza downstairs with little shops and so forth. But the whole building is a representation of Noah's Ark. So there are all these creatures all over the building.
And one of the things about San Miguel now, of course, they started out with one group of gringos forming a congregation. But as happens, they didn't get along, so they had a second one. And then the Hasidic people, the Lubavitchers, came in, so there's a third synagogue. And what's happening now is many, many Mexican people are converting to Judaism. And half of the congregation of one of the synagogues is native Mexicans.
It's primarily Mexican. This is, again, just one of the scenes on the street. This is a public wash area. I haven't seen it being used recently. I don't know if it's still used this way, but when we first started going to San Miguel, people who didn't have washing machines in their house or space to do it there would go here, which was like a courtyard right at the edge of town. And there is water running in that gutter you see behind them, which would come into these basins where they would wash their clothing, and then the water would get rinsed out as it was leaving. And this is just a building across the street from that, which is, I'm not sure what it was originally, but it's not, it became the Sierra Nevada, which is a sort of a high-end boutique hotel. I think that was sold recently, and there's a very nice courtyard restaurant in here. Most of these buildings, you can't really see from the outside, we'll have some pictures of it later, have beautiful courtyards in them, which you really can't tell from the outside. We always tell people, if you see an open door on the street, go in it, because you'll find something wonderful.
This is one of the typical streets, and this picture is a few years old.
This is right behind our house,
Yeah.
actually.
You don't see the donkeys carrying the wood as much now. The city has become much more cosmopolitan, even though you don't see modern cars. You don't have a lot of, we have a lot
Yeah,
of traffic.
you get a lot of cars.
And the cars are getting bigger, and when you have a two-way street and these big SUVs are coming. I always tell people that San Miguel is to Mexico City what the Hamptons is to New York City. So every weekend, there were wealthy people coming up from Mexico City who are buying homes there. They come for the weekends. The weddings, you'll see in a minute, they take over the town with all of these special events. So you don't see the old-fashioned donkeys walking as much as you did a few years ago.
Or if you do, they're mostly for tourists, and the kid will sit on top of them for a picture. And when we first got there, there were mounted policemen, and there still are. This picture was taken just this past year, but now they wear modern uniforms. When we first got there, they went around the town in more colonial uniforms. Actually, this picture was taken just like 2 doors down from our house. And this is one of the courtyards you might see in San Miguel. This is a particularly large one at the Instituto Allende, which became an art school in the 1940s and 50s, especially after the GI Bill became active. And a lot of GIs went down there because it was inexpensive to live there. They could go to the school there. And that's what it initially started to attract artists to the area. And there was an influx of Canadians after that. And it really is what started San Miguel as an artist community. And this is a beautiful courtyard in the Instituto, which is frequently used for weddings. And actually, here's a picture you can see. This was actually after wedding, but they put these enormous bouquets and floral arrangements in the center of the fountain, and they'll have candles hanging from the ceiling.
Well, that ceiling, they put in these huge tents, and the ceilings are actually these tents, and they go up in one day. I can't imagine how much these weddings cost. It's just breathtaking. As Peter said, chandeliers, and quite amazing.
And this is just the office in the Instituto, and just a picture I liked. There's a nicely painted mural on the back wall, actually in the whole entrance of the Instituto, and this cat was just sitting perched in the inbox.
And the cat is actually sitting in the office. I couldn't believe it. One year I was crossing the street across from our house, and on a telephone pole, there was a sign that said LLC. Believe it or not, there's an LLC branch in San Miguel, and I've taught 2 classes for them over the years. These are actually 2 of the students that work with LLC. And they also have a new gay alliance down there, and these kids are involved with that as well.
Again, another beautiful courtyard. This is the Casa Santa Monica, which used to be the private home of the gentleman you see on the right. He was a Mexican movie star and singer, and I think he even was a little bit known in Hollywood for a while. This was, as I said, this was his home, and it has since become a boutique hotel. Unfortunately, the food there is not very good, but it's a wonderful place to sit and just relax. And this is a courtyard in one of the many stores in San Miguel. This is one of the nicer ones in the sense that the building hasn't been altered much, so you get a real sense of what it felt like in some of these older Mexican courtyard homes.
Oh, what they've done, and I'll show you better after. There's one store that I think is the most amazing clothing, women's clothing store, and some things for men. The dresses on the right are all hand painted, and they can be actually washed, and they make jeans and they make shirts. I'll show you a shirt at the end, but I just think the workmanship in this place is amazing, and the clothes there, the women and our friends over the years, they buy clothes there as if they were going to TJ Maxx. The quality and the prices are more expensive than TJ Maxx, and it's some of the greatest clothing. You wouldn't have to go shopping anywhere else.
And the picture on the left is Arthur just after he came out of a yoga class. He frequently goes to yoga in the morning. And the picture on the left is a friend of ours who was visiting with the author Sandra Cisneros, who is a Mexican-American writer who has settled in San Miguel. There are a lot of writers as well as artists there. And the photo on the right was actually both those photos are at a store of some friends of ours who live in Mexico, are Mexican, and have a very successful business down there.
This is what's called the Tuesday market. And every Tuesday, the farmers come, the merchants come, and they set up a market which is the size of 3 football fields. And you can get everything from vegetables to chickens to birds to antiques to clothing. You can't imagine. I love to go there just to watch it every year and to see what it is. Can you imagine all of the tomatoes and the onions? They have to pile those up at 4 o'clock in the morning. The place opens at 7 and it closes at 3. And these people who do this in this market travel from city to city all week long, setting up every day and taking it down at night. I don't know how they do it. I have the patience for it, but it's a lot of fun.
And there's also a big cafe and coffee culture there. There are a lot of wonderful coffee shops there. This one is just around the corner from us, and they have Veracruz coffee.
This picture is a little coffee shop right around the corner from our house, and they created it out of 2 walls that were empty, and the other side was a little building. And all of those plants, there were planters that attached to the walls, and they planted it, and you walk, it's called Secret Garden, and you walk in, and the whole thing is just green, and right on the other side of that is a dirty parking lot. You can't imagine. And Miguel, of course, has to come with us, and that's our dog, and he has water every day when we go for coffee.
And this is at a place called the Bellas Artes. And much to our surprise when we first started going there, even though Mexico is not a particularly wealthy country, far from it, they do a much better job at subsidizing and supporting the arts than we do in this country. The Bellas Artes used to be a monastery, but now the lower floor is primarily galleries. There's a ballet studio, and the upper floors are generally classrooms where you can take music lessons, art lessons for all the relatively nominal fee. And this is just one of the murals in the building that was probably done in the 30s and 40s. And this is a fascinating room. It's an actually unfinished mural, but it was painted by a contemporary of Diego Rivera's, which is very unusual. And this is just a concert that took place there. Many of these concerts are free. You just go in and listen. And
this was one of the things about San Miguel is you think, wow, you're in the mountains, what can you do there? It really is an art city, right? We're at a concert, the 3 tenors from there, and they have concerts, they have ballet, they have a film festival, a music festival, a theater festival. You can find things to do every week and never, ever be bored.
This is the main theater, which the Angela Peralta, and you can see anything in there from classical concerts. This was a Cuban drag show, which was very entertaining. And this is actually the one in the foreground on the left is a friend of ours who is a jazz singer. And this particular one was at the library where the library has a lot of rooms around it where
Small theater.
Like a small theater and entertainment venues.
This is the outside of a building called L'Aurora. And what it was an old textile factory. And they converted it into the largest art gallery in the city with all kinds of boutique stores, from clothing to art to ceramics. And it's one of our favorite places to go. You can spend a whole day there with visiting all of the different galleries. This is just some pictures of the different products.
This is actually at the Toy Museum. There aren't that many formal museums in town, but this was a toy museum, and even they're using old style painting to paint modern toys. But they also have antique toys too. It's worth stopping by if you go there.
And this picture is a man making a ring. The first year we went, we decided we wanted to have wedding rings made. And I found a jeweler. This was the man. And I said, we want to make our own rings. And he said, okay, come. And we went, and I felt like I was walking into one of the old jewelry factories. And he said to us, okay, what kind of a design? We told him the design. And he said, you come every day for 7 days and you can make your own rings. And we said, we don't have time. We're only here for 7 days. If you make our design rings, how fast can you do it? He said, you can have them tomorrow. So that's what he was doing, actually making our rings in that picture. And the tailor shops that are in town, and they have a lot of tailor shops for people who are having their new clothes modified and whatnot. I had a pair of slacks that I had to have shortened, and there she was around the corner from the house.
Using a treadle sewing machine.
This picture, some of you will recognize the little dog on the second one from the left. That's actually our Miguel. And one year I got the idea, we saw a lot of paper mache figurines, and with a lot of questioning, we found a paper mache manufacturer. He took he had three pictures. He had 3 pictures to work from. The dog was not there that year. And those are what he created for us. And we brought them back, 1 for ourselves and 2 for friends.
A lot of people who live there don't buy retail. You just contact craftsmen and they will make whatever you need out of wrought iron, glass, whatever.
This is the window of the house.
No, this is just in a private home. Every year around Christmas time, this guy puts up this elaborate, I guess it's sort of a creche scene or a chapel in his house, and a lot of people do that.
And he leaves the window open. This is the hotel across the street. There are always little vendors there, and we bought the piñata, which we have as part of the collection. The holidays there are fabulous. These are night pictures of New Year's Eve. And it's like Times Square, and it's absolutely the most fun thing. You have families there, everybody's drinking, carrying on. There's no dangers or anything, babies, wonderful time.
And if you don't want to watch the fireworks from downtown, you can watch it in the hills. Actually, a big holiday there is Three Kings Day. Christmas is not a big gift-giving occasion, but Three Kings Day is. In this instance, it was a festival in the local park just down the street for us, where disadvantaged kids were given presents that were contributed by stores and other people in the town.
And what they do for Three Kings Day is they bake bread with the little baby Jesus in there, and all of the bakeries make the same thing. And you can see this goes for the length of the park, and everybody gets slices as it goes during the day. And by the end of the day, there's nothing left.
Another holiday is, it's not really a holiday, but it's called Candelaria. And it's not really a flower show, but all the nurseries in the area congregate in one of the parks, and they just have incredible flowers for sale. Plants in Mexico are very inexpensive. It's too bad you can't bring them home, because they're really wonderful.
This, as I mentioned, the people coming from Mexico City, this is a typical wedding on the right-hand side. They get married in the church, and then this wedding was coming to the hotel across the street from us for the reception. And they have that's a tequila donkey. And the donkey, this is the big thing that the donkeys do now. They have barrels of tequila on either side, and the man of the groom in the white shirt, you can notice there's something hanging around his neck. They give out, and the bride has it too, little tiny cups, and they drink tequila all the way down the street. And the women all have heels, but because of the cobblestones, they don't walk in heels. The bride and the groom give out little slippers. And the woman that I'm standing with on the left-hand side, she's called a muliganga. And they have these giant puppets. And there's a person walking, and they can see through it, and they use them for all occasions and all excitement. This is the gardens.
This is the Botanic Gardens at San Miguel, which is just at the edge of town. It's becoming more necessary because of rapid development there to preserve some of the areas. So this is a park that's been preserved with beautiful trails in it and gorges. That's a typical cactus. Those little red things are called tunas, which are made into a jam. And a monarch butterfly on the right. There isn't a monarch butterfly preserve in San Miguel, but in Michoacan, a few hours away in the mountains, which we went to one year. And these are leafcutter ants, which you see quite often, and especially fun when they cut something like a poinsettia or something. You see them carrying bright red things down branches. And these are just some of the unusual plants you see. I call the ones on the right Dr. Seuss plants. They grow on stems, and the upper part of the stem grows from the flower beneath it. They just look really odd to me. This is in Etotonilco, which is a town outside of town, which has a beautiful cathedral that has a little bit the feel of the Sistine Chapel. It's not as massive, but it has really interesting colonial paintings in it. And also, in this particular instance, a really nice gallery, which is in someone's private home. He also has an area set aside where he sells some things too.
It's a Jewish guy and his wife.
Meyer
Schechter.
And
this is his house. You walk in and everything in the house is for sale. He's very clever, and it's a wonderful house. And he also has a gallery in town. But the artisans that he collects from all of Mexico, just amazing. This is one of the reasons I went to San Miguel. This is called La Gruta, and these are the hot springs that are all around the outside of the city. Here I am with my oldest grandson, the year he turned 21, and go ahead. And they have caves, and you go through these passageways, you swim into the passageways. This huge cave has this waterfall, and this is all hot therapeutic water. Peter got this shot with nobody there, but people line up and everybody stands under the thing, and it just feels fabulous. It's like a wonderful massage.
Another place outside of town is called Cañada de la Virgen, which is not a Mayan, but it's called an Otomi site, although it looks like Mayan architecture, and it's a recently excavated pre-Columbian site. And this is the city of Guanajuato, which is a nearby city, which is actually much larger than San Miguel. It's the town that Diego Rivera was from. I think one of the buildings in the bottom left is his house, where there's a wonderful gallery. It's a university town, and it's a beautiful opera house. It's a beautiful city and definitely worth going to. This is Pozos, a silver mining town, which had been mostly abandoned, and it's becoming a tourist town a little bit. We bumped into some friends of ours there. That's Deborah Turbeville on the left, who is now deceased, but was a well-known artist and had a beautiful home in San Miguel, which is now a boutique hotel. And Carmen Gutierrez on the right, who we've gotten to know, who's a gallery owner, whose ex-husband is Pedro Friedeberg, who's a very well-known Mexican artist. His most iconic sculpture is this hand chair, which I'm sure you've seen reproduced a number of times.
We took a trip outside of San Miguel, and we went to Bernal. And this is a wonderful, wonderful destination for a day. People actually climb that. It's not a mountain.
It's a monolith.
And it's a wonderful day.
Yeah, we climbed about halfway up.
This picture you may say, what is this all about? It was a beautiful day. These are our friends from Boston on the left, and the woman on the right is our friend from California. But on a cool day, a lot of the houses retain the cold, not the heat. And this day we were sitting in the courtyard having a wonderful lunch. Everybody came inside, it was freezing, so they took out blankets and heaters. This is a private home of very good friends of ours. She was the head of the emergency room at Beth Israel Hospital in Boston, and he was a stockbroker. And they're the most unusual couple. The building on the left is a copy of what's inside is a reproduction of the ballroom at Rosecliff in Newport. And
He's an amateur architect, and when they see a building they like, they have it
They build
reproduced
it.
on the property. This is outside that building, and on the right was a gala that was just held this past year to raise money for a local musical group. Now, this is for the student music group. That's a large part of what the gringo community or the foreign community is very active in. There are a lot of charities in San Miguel. You can get the false impression that San Miguel is an affluent town. It can be in the center, but the surrounding areas are actually quite poor. And there are a lot of organizations in town that are organized to support charities that help people.
This is the inside of that building, and they had dinner for everybody afterwards. They can seat almost 100 people in there, and this building has its own kitchens. There are 3 kitchens within this, and restrooms. And they built all this. They're amazing people. The people in this picture, the man on the left and the woman on the right, husband and wife, they run the film festival, the International Film Festival, and we became friends with them the first year we were there. And for 15 years, the tradition is we go to their home for Christmas Eve, and they have piñatas, and they have all of the sparklers. This is my adopted grandson. The couple that I showed you, they have a daughter, and she's married to a Jewish guy. So they celebrate Christmas and they celebrate Hanukkah. And this was actually, we took our menorah to her house that night, and he's just my greatest playmate down there. He can speak Hebrew. He does the prayers. Just amazing.
And this was one of the women we met at a Christmas party at this woman's house, and we were just speaking to her casually during the evening. And at some point, toward the end of the evening, somebody said, "Oh, you do know she's a very famous Mexican actress?" And I said, "No, we had no idea." But so we asked her what she was in, and it turns out she's in the House of Flowers. Here she's in this picture. She's depicted second from the right, which is an outrageous Mexican soap opera.
It's on its 3rd season on Netflix. You can find the whole thing. This is sunset, and it's just the most beautiful place.
This is it.
Oh, that's the last one.
Yes.
Oh, we did. I was afraid we had some more.
Arthur kept signaling me to hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. So we're at the end now, so you have time for questions.
Yes, Judy will field questions if any of you sent them in, or if Judy, if you can turn on if people want to.
Ruby?
Yes, first I have to show you this, made in San Miguel, that Peter and Arthur gave me. The artist is Patrice Wynn.
Yeah.
Okay, my second, I won't take up a lot of time. But how far is San Miguel from Mexico City that you say people come out there for?
It's about a 4-hour drive.
Okay.
It's sort of like driving to the Hamptons or driving to Provincetown from Boston.
And one more thing, you were kind enough every year to donate your home to the golf tournament auction, and I think you're doing that again because we're doing our auction online. Is that right? So everybody that's listening and can bid when the auction goes online.
Rob and Faye actually bid last year, and they went with her sister and brother-in-law, and they had a wonderful time. They really did.
Yep. So thank you very much, Arthur and Peter, for donating that. And everybody, please look for your online auction. I want to bid on it now. I really want to. It was wonderful.
By the way, and what we showed you there really was just a fraction.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
As we put this thing together, we realized there's so many things you really can't include it in a short talk like this.
And I didn't even realize Ruby was going to say that. But when people bid on it, we didn't mention the house itself. It's got actually 3 bedrooms, one with a king-size bed, a queen, and second with a king-size bed. And the 3rd floor has either double twin beds or king size, and each bedroom has its ensuite bathroom. So it's very private. and people go every year, you know, friends and family, and it's a wonderful, inexpensive vacation. Can we, does anybody else have any questions? Okay, can we
It
get
looks
back on?
like Rosalind Kritzer is saying something,
Roz.
but
It's Roz.
Roz.
Roz, are you, we can't
Wait a
hear
minute.
you.
Oh, let me,
There you
Okay,
go.
there you go. No, you're off again.
mute now. How's that?
That's good.
There you got you now.
Okay, I've been to, this was beautiful, wonderful. And I've been to San Miguel and Guanajuato. I stayed there for, we had a marvelous time in Guanajuato. So this was great. Thanks for the memories. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I don't know if you can see, I put on a shirt. I couldn't resist it.
It won't show up because of
No,
the
Peter says,
background.
well, anyway,
It's so funky.
hand-painted shirt on the side, and I've never worn it because I haven't been going anywhere. But I thought for this occasion, I had to put it on.
I think you should wear
Well,
it.
you'll have to wear it here.
I'll wear it to the temple.
Yes. So I have a question, may I?
Sure.
What's the crime, what's the crime rate like there? I mean, you hear so many stories about Mexico City and Mexico period and.
There's no question. Everybody asked that question. My answer was up until last year, when the kids were killed at Newtown, and you know, people said, "Oh my God, Miguel, San Miguel is so dangerous." They don't kill students in San Miguel. It's one of the safer towns. I wouldn't walk around in the town at 3 o'clock in the morning. I probably could, but I just wouldn't do that. You have some crime, but not serious crime as you hear about in other parts of the country.
But you can go out to dinner and come home at 10 o'clock at night.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And the restaurants, we didn't even get into the restaurants, but you can eat there. Peter and I don't like Mexican food, and Peter will eat it. But we can go to French restaurants, Italian restaurants, Greek restaurants, Peruvian restaurants. You don't have to, if you go there for 2 weeks, you don't have to eat in the same restaurant twice. And the food is absolutely, absolutely the finest as you can find anywhere in the world. Kate, did you have a hand up?
Yeah, of course I did. Thank you. A blast from the past. You know, it
Kate?
was, yeah.
Kate happens to be somebody who lives here in Barrington and who's been in our class. Well, she took an LLC class and she took our class in Barrington, and she's only been here for a couple of years. And it turned out she lived in San Miguel for 10 years, but we never
Oh.
met each other. It had to be when she moved in around the corner. Judith, did
And
you-
how long have you been going there?
15,
No.
so be 2008,
Oh, yeah.
2007,
Since
actually.
2007.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. Judith,
Any issues with water,
say again?
drinking water, any issues?
Well, it depends on the house you have. And we have a basic filtration system. So we brush our teeth, take showers in the water, but we don't use it in cooking or don't drink it.
We could, but we just don't take, we get bottled water delivered once a week.
Some people have really heavy duty filtration systems and they can drink their tap water, but we just don't want to risk that, so we don't. But some people drink water out of the tap even though it's not filtered.
Barbara Brown wrote in the chat room how you feel about giving dollars to Mexico, that she and her husband refuses to go because of the government. And though there are so many places we have disagreements with the government, including the US.
Well, you might, Barbara, you might say that about any country, really.
Including ours. at the moment.
Including, yeah, look at our country. I mean, the first thing that I think of is, and again, here we are at the temple, you know, anti-Semitism and all of that. You find that anywhere, but when you see the way
Leaving.
they're trying really to take care of the poor
I feel like
people.
blowing the fucking thing.
Aaron Berger asked, how expensive is it to visit restaurants, etc.?
Restaurants
And
much
and
less-
other things.
and other things. The restaurants are very reasonably priced. We go to certain restaurants which are 5-star restaurants, and we can get out with a drink or two for maybe $30, $40 a person.
And that's about as much as you can spend.
Right. And the food there, they have a couple of wonderful markets that are right outside the city. And we buy all of the food that we don't worry about, eating. What we do is like, what do you call it? Sterilize the food.
Disinfectant.
We bring in vegetables and fruit, and that's all put in they're disinfected, so to speak, just to make sure that there's no chances of picking up any bugs.
And there's a strong organic movement there, so there are quite a few organic markets in town too.
Yes, Kate.
Oh, I wanted to add that, like having water delivered in San Miguel.
No, we lost you.
You froze.
Okay, Kate, until Kate unfreezes, does anybody else have another question?
There's no more in the chat room.
Okay, well, we're doing really good on time, Judy.
You're right on time. We have 4 minutes.
Well, that's good. If we can't get Kate back. Well, I think we can say thank you very much for giving us the chance to do this. It's a place we've learned to really love and appreciate, and it's a wonderful place to go for a vacation. It really is. And to
I just unmuted everyone so they can thank you. And we do appreciate it. It was very interesting. And we have classes till the middle of June, but if you have ideas for future classes or would like to teach one, let me know. We'd love to have you. And again, thank you, Peter and Arthur. And it was, I not only appreciate your presentation, but it gave us an opportunity to catch up. We hadn't spoken in a long time, so we got to, in preparation, catch up a little bit. So thank you very much. And everybody, hope to see you in other classes. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Great.
Thank you.
Very interesting.
I want to see that. I want to see that shirt in person.
Here's Miguel.
Oh.
Charlotte, there's your boyfriend. Charlotte, it's your boyfriend.
Everybody, it was wonderful, Arthur and Peter. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
have a good summer, everybody.
Yep, you too.
Yeah.
Thanks for including me.